noticed after, 12 people had filled it out that I misspelled something on the form, but whatever. Did you notice? Season instead of session.
It happened.
That's what happens when you create the form at 9 o'clock at night.
Now, did these?
No, we're going to though.
Okay.
I think we're going to add to it, but we talked about there.
Your wife just
Coach Walker,
Yes.
when you get done with that, do me a favor.
Yes, sir.
Dylan and I have this exact same birthday.
Yes.
It's their birthday.
5 days after theirs.
I don't want to know. Oh, so does
7:49.
He searched me out. Cold.
You know like a dog.
Rod Davis is on her birthday. Rod Davis.
How's your birthday? Hey, David. You know, happy
The
birthday.
new Coach Davis. He's not in here right now, but he's in here right now. Whose birthday? She and I. When is that?
And Kim Brooks.
Wait, we have more April birthdays.
There's a lot of April birthdays.
Yeah.
We have a lot of April and a lot of August.
April's the best. I totally missed it.
Oh, it's fine. My family. September.
Hey, thank you. I'm going to crawl over here.
Two of my daughters, both my sisters, my husband, a nephew, and my first cousin's wife. All September.
I'm surrounded, in my whole world, I'm surrounded by Leo, Taurus, and Aries.
Aries, yes.
Why are we live streaming?
Testament is 100% free on YouTube. So
Obviously, my whole crew is still asleep. It was none of their answers to me.
that makes sense. I mean, so I'm trying to test it out to see how well it works. Plus, I can. Once this is over with,
They did a bonfire last night in the backyard.
YouTube, so anybody go back and watch the.
And they forgot to get graham crackers, so they were eating s'mores with white crackers. And Marty said, "This tastes funny." I said, "Because this is a salty cracker." That's stupid. Y'all should hear that story.
And my grandmother is right there on the cusp of it.
Or you can return that. But that's a wireless camera. It's wireless. It's connected to an IP as well as to the main We're live streaming.
Woo!
You'll be on in just a second.
Yeah, I just.
They don't find it.
Man, what kind of example? You are meeting the future, and that's the example they're getting. First of all, you could explain a lot about what we're doing. Kids with the library.
That's true.
And the ones that we don't have.
It's not that long.
So, did you hear about the China staffing in the train station? Did nobody hear about that? They must not have broadcast that much around here.
When did you talk about?
Friday or Saturday, 29 people were killed. I mean, literally, they went to the train station, they were just slicing and dicing people. 29 people were killed, 120 injured. Yeah, it was like, they said it was terrorist, dude. China?
In China. Wow.
I'm beginning to think it was like a, it was a joke, but it's not.
When was that?
Friday or Saturday? I'm thinking they don't emphasize it in the U.S. because, you know, they don't realize people can also get killed with knives. It doesn't just have to be guns.
Yeah, where's the hubbub on the band?
And he really complicated. I think I did. Way wrong.
And like that.
I will be late. A little time delay.
We've been live streaming this.
It's time delay.
It does have a delay.
See, it's gonna be a 2, 3, 4,
Should be about 7 seconds.
7, 8, 9, 10,
No, that was like
11.
Let's have the record process put on there.
It's recording it, going through the player, and then going to YouTube, and then YouTube's streaming. And y'all can put this on your webpage too, so y'all can automatically link it, so if kids are absent, no excuse. They can get on YouTube and watch your class while they're absent. And then,
Yeah, I did that.
make sure you have if you're just now, make sure you should have a form to fill out from FAI 201. If you haven't figured it out, or if you haven't filled it out yet, FAI 201, an email with a form attached to it. Please go ahead and get that filled out.
Select all that apply though, so if you.
I did look at that. And I should have noticed that square.
Yeah, you should have. You have trouble reading. Come on, Josh, let's get it together.
Basically, like it was the gun talk.
Of course. Always is.
It's like, they asked him what was the how's your son? Doesn't live with his father. You know, I'm just gonna let.
Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
How he got the guns. He had 13 guns. How he got all the guns.
13.
Why would you have 13?
Yeah.
What?
Looking for you.
Looks like you're about to like.
Hey, Blaze.
Hey.
I just didn't know.
Now, that's part of the reason we're looking at this, because this automatically stores it to YouTube, so it's a YouTube video. But you can make it for football coaches. We can make it private after the football season's over, so not just anybody can get on there and look at it.
Steal your stuff.
Yeah, but KK's the person asked about that. He got something figured out to where we can go back and rewatch the game. All right. Was that? Oh yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. My bad.
It was brought to our attention in the last group that I'm Amanda Jolly. This is my second year at Northwest. I teach math and engineering.
Faith Draper. This is my first year here. I teach Algebra 1.
Blaze King, first year here. Last year I was at North Shore Elementary. Teach Algebra 2, and then a hodgepodge class of just a bunch of stuff that's thrown in there called Community Service. So,
Did you teach Algebra 2 last year at North Shore?
I did.
Child prodigy.
Experimental program with the younger kids. Or whatever you teach, they'll just pick up on it, whether they know. Nobody knows math anyway, so we just start over. All right. Before we went on Google Apps again, you had an email from FAI 201. That's Faith with a Google form attached to the bottom of it. If you could make sure you filled that out if you haven't, as we move forward. All right, we're going to start off with slides. Y'all came from, they covered docs in the last class, correct? Google Drive and docs and that kind of stuff, okay. We're going to cover slides, sheets, forms, Google Calendar, a little bit of something else at the end. Please stop us at any point in time if you have any questions or something that doesn't make sense to you. Google Slides is nothing different than Google PowerPoint. I think a lot of people get confused and bogged down when they hear slides. They're like, I don't know what that means. It's just a way saying PowerPoint, and it's operated by Google. You never have to save anything because it automatically saves itself. So as soon as you open it, it automatically up a new tab and sign into Google. And when you sign into Google, right next to your name should be a little box with 9 little bitty squares in it. And if you click on that box, there's 2 options. You can go to Drive, or you can go to Slides. So we're pulling it up. Right here next to your name, you've got 9. And then from Drive, go ahead and create a Google slide. You would do blank. There. Now you can choose any of the or recent presentations or whatever.
Did anybody pull this up and you don't see File, Edit, View, in slide? Those options up. You don't. Mr. Sullins doesn't.
What causes that? What causes a
Things isn't pulled up and you click escape, they go away. If you click escape again, they come back. You have to, yeah, this can't be open. And then, well, this isn't, I have no idea.
Okay.
Last block, they disappeared and we clicked escape and they came back.
From there, if you want to talk about themes, to change your theme is not just you can leave a blank theme, boring, you can be as exciting, doesn't matter. You're going to click on themes, click on theme, and then it'll pull up a box on the right hand side of your window, and from that you can select the theme that you want. Doesn't matter, that's your preference. All that's going to do is give you a color format, a color background, a color template that you're going to use for all of your slides. At any point in time, you can change your theme in the middle of your presentation, and each slide can have a different theme if you want it to have a different theme. Doesn't matter. I'm of the opinion that simple is better. You start adding a bunch of colors and a bunch of transitions and things like that, people are going to get lost. And they're not going to pick up on the presentation. They're going to be dizzy because things are flying in, flying out, colors are changing, and all that kind of stuff. But that's just my personal preference. After your theme, I'm going to backtrack. Let's go back. After you pick your theme, over here on the left-hand side is a plus sign with a drop-down arrow. That drop-down arrow it's going to give you an option to pick which layout you want. You can pick the layout you want. You're automatically going to add that layout to the next position. Now, to change the position, if you, let's say you do 4 slides and you're like, oh, I forgot I needed to add a slide in there at position 3. You can come over here and just click in between and you'll get a black bar, and that's where it'll add your slide. So if you get that bar in between, then you click on that down arrow, click the layout you want, the slide will automatically be added in that position. Again, you can put it wherever you want. The other way to do that is over here on the right hand side. Let's say you put a blank one in, you're like, I don't like that too much. You can go over here and click layout and change the layout of that particular slide. For example, I was kind of plain Jane. Good thing I had these 2 ladies working with me, because last night they went in and changed some of my layouts to make it look a little bit. Go back to any of my slides and the layout that they wanted and make it better. All right. Transitions are just effects that you're going to add to your slide as it comes in and comes out. Again, I put transitions on mine just to show what a transition was. I'm not a big fan of transitions, that's just me personally, because I think it takes away from the content. It's like putting a paragraph of writing up there and then reading from that paragraph. Alright? Not a big fan of transitions, but they're there. On the right-hand side of your bar, it should say transitions. You may have to click out of your themes. If your themes tab is still up, you have to close out of that, and then your transitions should pop up on the right-hand side. In that transitions, you can apply a transition to a slide, to every slide, or to a couple of slides.
This is just like PowerPoint.
It's exactly the same thing.
What's the advantage of?
The advantage of this, go ahead if you want to.
Okay, so the advantage of using Google Slides is within my classroom, I use it when they're working on group projects. Is a lot of the times when I use it. Even if it's an individual project, it's good. And part of that, I don't know if they showed you the last group session that you were in, but on any form, slides, documents, any of those, you can go to File. If a student has shared it with you, you can go to File and then see Revision History. So click on that for me. And this will come up on the side, and it will tell you who did what, when they did it. And so let's just say that the 3 of us were in a group, and they went to Mr. Buchanan, who's our teacher, and said, you know, Amanda didn't do anything. You know, like all she did was kind of edit some color, but she didn't add any content. Then I can go for each of these time slots, and they're saying Amanda didn't do anything, and I can look right here, I can click on that, and it will show over here, I'm in purple, it'll show whatever I did in the purple. Another thing that's nice with this, too, if they share it with me, let's just say that this project was actually due on October the 3rd. And they shared it with me on October the 3rd, but realistically, you don't have time to grade all 150 presentations in a day. And they edited it over the weekend, and I'm starting to grade on Monday. I can go down to October the 3rd, scroll down for me because it's not calibrated, and restore it to this and grade it based off of the last previous due date.
Oh, that's magical.
So I could say restore to this version, and it's going to change it back to October the 3rd when it was due.
Now, but can you go back and restore it?
Yes.
So if you
if I
go back to revision history,
and I just scroll back up to today,
Okay.
maybe.
go to
Click on it.
746
Wow.
and then it's back to.
And it's back to that.
If you do not have the edit tab, if you do not have the ability, if the student doesn't give you the ability to edit it, you will not have this.
Yes.
So if they just send you a canned view, which we'll talk about that in just a minute, if they just send you canned view, you're not going to have the ability to look at the revision history. It's not going to give you that option. Okay? Transitions. we're going to touch on that again in just a second. Transitions, again, you can do a slide or you can animate an object. Okay, so if you put a picture in there, you can highlight that picture, get the blue box. For instance, I can take the blue box around that, and from there, I can go image options, change the image options there, or, where's my transitions key? Transition, and then select an object to animate, select it, so then I can add an animation and I can change what I want to do with that particular object. So I can have it fly in, and you can add animation to multiple objects at a time. So if we have arrows like those arrows, I can get the arrows to fly in at a different time. I can get the picture to fly in at a different time. Real quick, I'm going to throw a couple of key commands out there just to make sure that you know those. To take a screenshot of your computer. Let's say you have something up and you're like, man, I need to get that on a slide, PowerPoint, a presentation. It's Command-Shift-4. If you hit Command-Shift-4, a little crosshair is going to pull up on your computer. You can take that crosshair to where you want it, click, drag what you want to be a picture, and as soon as you release it, it's going to screenshot that and put it on your desktop. And then you can drag it from your desktop to wherever you want it. So Command-Shift-4 is your screenshot capability.
Also, one thing that we didn't address, what's the benefit of doing this? What's nice about this is if they're working on it at the same time, they're seeing the edits as they come. And so last night, actually, all three of us were working on it at the same time. And Blaze is adding in slides, and as he's adding in slides, the two of us are changing the colors and changing the fonts and all of that. And so if it's PowerPoint, then they have to somehow send it all to the same person and merge their slides together. So with this, when they share with their classmates, they can all do it at the same, they can work on the same presentation at the same time. And when they're adding in the slides, it's coming up to whoever is also has that point.
Miss Lewis was saying last session that she will sometimes assign those to her class. And they'll work on them in class. Well, during class, she can pull them up and see what each group is doing from her computer during the middle of class.
You can also make comments too. So if you see right here where the mouse is, you can see Blaze, and then right by it, there's this little chat icon. And if you click the chat icon, you can chat with who's ever on the same document that you are. So as we were changing his format, we sent him a message and saying, we're trying to make it look better.
Yeah, I was like, just do whatever it takes to make it look good. That doesn't matter. You also have, well, let's do this, and we'll go to comments in just a second. The other comment section. But that's okay. Downloadable formats. If you click on File, because some of you are going to be like, some people, not some of you necessarily, but some people outside of the education world may be like, I don't know what Google Slides are. I never heard of them. They want a PDF or they want a PowerPoint. You can take any Google slide and download it as a PowerPoint or download it as a PDF. I recommend PDF if you're emailing it out, because then it's just a picture, essentially, that they can scroll through. It won't have any transitions, and it's just going to show up as one long sheet of slides. So you just scroll down the slides as it goes. But everybody should have access to Google. It's all free. But if they don't, they're definitely going to have access to a PDF. They'll be able to pull that up regardless.
Well, and two, the PDF doesn't alter the format.
It doesn't change it, yes. When you go to PowerPoint and you go back and forth, there may be a font that you chose that's not going to show up in Microsoft Office. There may be a Microsoft Office that's going to show up, not going to show up in Google Slides. You don't, the words are going to look exactly the same. So we used, I can't remember the exact name of this font. Microsoft Office may not have that font. So when we change it, it may just change everything into Times New Roman, and it's not going to look as aesthetically pleasing as we would like. Not JPEG, plain text, PDF, or PNG, JPEG, plain text, and that should have been SVG. You don't necessarily need those if you ever have to save an SVG file. If you have to, that's a scalable vector graphic. which just means that if you begin and it's supposed to be this big, it's not going to. So if you ever have to mess with that, you can drop it in a PowerPoint, save it as an SVG, and be done. But that's just a side note. Can you scroll down on the? All right, classroom collaboration. Classroom collaboration, that's where we talked about the revision history. We talked about that, the sharing. Again, when you click share, make sure, so you can click share and look at that. Click advanced. What this does is this gives you a link that you can email. So you can copy and paste this link and put it in an email and send it to whomever, and they're going to be able to click on that link and it will take them directly to that PowerPoint, that slide presentation. You also, what's that?
You can also put that on Canvas.
Yes, you can put that on Canvas, and hopefully they're going to answer a few questions, or we'll give you a few questions to ask them when you get to the Canvas session, because we had it last class, we're going to talk about embedding some stuff. Maybe we'll be able to embed this in Canvas, because we know we can do it in our websites, just not sure about Canvas. But this tells you who has access, and then over here you can change, and this is the same thing for docs, forms, sheets, slides, all of the Google show you can edit, can comment, can view. If a person is going to be working on it, or if you are the teacher, you want to make sure that it's tabbed as can edit. If it's not, you're not going to be able to do anything to it. You're just going to be able to look at it. You can download a copy of it, but you cannot physically make changes to it. And then down here where it says invite people, that's where you can type in the address, the email address of people that you want to invite. And you can change the setting over here whether you want to edit, comment, or view. Alright, and then you're done, and it'll send it, and you'll be done. The other thing that you have is comments over here, where you can go in maybe as a teacher, let's say they're working on it, and it's before the due date, and you want to say, you might want to check your formatting here because it's different than every other slide. It's not real clean. Are you sure that that's when that war happened? Maybe they put the War of 1813 instead of the War of 1812, whatever it may be. Okay, you can just throw the comment in there. They can see the comment, make the revision before they turn it in and it's due. And all right, Google Calendar. Go ahead and open up a new tab and open up your Google Calendar. I'm going to put this disclaimer out there. I think Google Calendar, the Google Calendar app on your much cleaner, much smoother, much easier to operate than the desktop version. And some people have got, what does that say, Coach Smith? Does that say that there's a, what does it say, Coach Walker?
New in Google Calendar?
I think they may have, honest to truth, I think today they may have released a Google Calendar app for your computer.
For your computer?
That, because they do not have a Google Calendar app for your computer. But what that's telling me is that there's possibly one there. If there is one, it's probably going to work a lot better than the browser part. Again, I don't like that I can't. It's more difficult to integrate multiple calendars. So like my wife doesn't use Google Calendar, she uses the Apple Calendar. Well, on my phone, I can share, that calendar with her through Google Calendar. But on the have a ID with your school email address, it's difficult to do so. So I can't share that calendar. She can't share that calendar with me, and I can't share that calendar with her. But on the phone, I can. So the phone to me is just a lot cleaner. The other thing, if you're just dead set on using the calendar that's on your toolbar, you can always share your RCSD account with that calendar, and whatever changes you make there are going to show up in your RCSD calendar, and whatever changes you make on your RCSD calendar are going to show up on that. So it's all there. If you'll go to month view real quick, so top right hand side it says day, week, month, click on the month. You've got the option on the left-hand side in the red box that says create. That's just a way to create a quick event. Just click create, you can add an event, and it should add it on the day that you have highlighted. To get more options, click on the day. If you just one click on the day, you can click there and it'll pull up and you can create edit event, and it'll give you a lot of options where you can change the calendar color, you can do all that stuff, put it under a certain calendar, etc. Recommendations is, you know, if you want to, well, let me back up. That's the way to create events. Okay? From there, if you will click on, to make some changes, in the right-hand corner you have a gear shape. Click on that, that's settings. And then under settings, click on settings. So top right hand is a gear, that's your settings tab, and then click on settings. That's going to pull up, can you go to Google Calendar, do we still have that pulled up?
I can go on mine, I don't.
Yeah, that's fine. No worries.
Click out of that.
Okay.
Cozy or comfortable or compact?
Go to settings, and then settings again. And then, so right here, you've got a bunch of options. We're going to come back to this events from Gmail and talk about that in a second, but go to calendars for me. If you click on calendars in the top left, this is where you can add people to your calendar, create a new calendar. For instance, in the math department, Mr. Prince created an M-Star Prince calendar and shared it with every math teacher. And that was our place to go on and sign up for our formal evaluation. And we can see his calendar when he's going to be out of office, when other people have signed up, and then we can sign up ourselves. So for example, department chairs, if you wanted to create one for when people are going to be observed, they can go in and sign up for who's observing whom at what time, and everybody in your department's going to know what's happening. Coaches can do it for athletic events, for practice, for whatever you want to do, and if you have it on your phone, it's automatically going to show up. There's the M-Star Prince one that we're talking about. Create new calendar, that's where you will do that, and then if you click on your name for me if you don't mind. So if you click on your name, this is going to give you a bunch of other options. Calendar name, this is where you can embed the calendar. Again, we'll talk about that when we get to the end of this whole deal, where you can actually put your calendar on your web page. So if somebody goes to your web page, they can see it. And then every time you make a change, it automatically changes on your web page. If you want to do that for a syllabus or something, or you got performances coming up, you can do that. Scroll down for me if you don't mind. Delete calendar, calendar address, every other good thing there. And let's go back to, let's go share this calendar. And then from share this calendar, this is where you can pick whether you want to share your calendar with whomever you want to share it with. Put the email addresses in here, and then over here under permission settings, that's where you change to where a person can make and change the calendar events, or they can just see the event details. And then you would add person from there. And back to calendar. Now, if you go, let's see if this, okay. On the left-hand side, go back to your calendar. Mr. Buchanan's not in here, so we get to, I told him I was going to do this. This time I didn't tell him last class, and we did it anyway. Right here where it says Add Coworkers Calendar, click in that box and type in MATT dot. You may have to hit the drop-down arrow to get it to show up. So click in MATT dot where it says, and click on Matt Buchanan and watch what happens. Wham! All of his stuff shows up. Anybody's calendar in here, you can see because you're on RCSD.
You can see my stuff.
You can see your. We are going. I'm going to show you how to. So, Mr. Buchanan's is not private, so you can go, Mr. Buchanan.
There it is.
There's your calendar.
There it is.
See, y'all think that I don't do anything. There you go.
Other
You're practicing to be a man on Wednesday. Yeah. Only because I'm overstood government. I don't put it in there.
If you, that's
I love it.
that is.
If I don't put it in there, I'll forget.
Automatically
Mr. King.
Yes.
I got all you Saturdays.
Yeah.
Southern game.
That's right. Pays to be the flagship university in the state of Mississippi right now. 22-1, there it is.
Okay.
Way to go, state.
To make your calendar private. To make your calendar private, go settings. Just like we did before with the gear. Settings, and then down here it says events from Gmail. I believe this is how you do it. Click private. And that's where you change your settings.
Wait.
No, not only me.
What's the difference between private and only me?
Okay, so we may be making this up, but I think, I'm just being honest. I'm real good at making things up on the spot. I think what it is when it's only me, people can view it, like we were able to view maps, but he's the only one that can add and subtract from that.
Right.
But if I choose private, that means that when I search for my name, like for other people's names and you're private, I cannot add your calendar to mine.
Okay.
What was the other one? Public? I can add and subtract.
Okay. What's that? You want to create a new one?
Yeah.
Create a new calendar?
Yeah.
Okay, so go settings.
Hey, now that y'all playing with my calendar, y'all can't edit anything.
Deleting all of your stuff.
Yeah, I'll do that tomorrow.
Okay, hey, real quick, to hide this. Hey, since this stuff's still on there, here's how you get it off. Click on his name, or beside his name is a drop down arrow. Click on that drop down arrow, hide this calendar from list, and it goes away. And it's gone. Hide this calendar from list, and it's gone. Alright. Ladies, y'all ready? Good, because this is some meat and it's a lot of stuff.
She's gonna start, and then I'll be right back.
Oh, I found where you create new calendars.
Yes.
Email?
Under my calendars,
She was leaving
to the left,
lunch today.
underneath.
I want to get mine right now.
the little drop down area, right there.
Okay, so if you're not familiar with Google Forms, that's what you filled out. That's what you got an email from me. It's kind of like a survey. So you can use it for assessments or quizzes, whatever you want to use it for. So if you want to go back to your Google Drive and click the square little dots.
Real quick, I'm on, as they're doing that. Canvas, forms, personal preference. Just personal preference, okay? That's all. I'm more comfortable with forms, so I would choose forms. But you're going to be able to get the same results.
But aren't we gonna be required to do Canvas when the kids have the one-to-ones?
Doesn't, I mean.
Well, see, I made a Google form for my parents. So some parents, they don't know how to get on campus, but they know how to get on my faculty webpage. So if I make a form, embed it on my faculty webpage, they can just go and click that link, not have to have a RCSD account, fill out the form. That's what that's how I got all my parent information at the beginning of the school year. So that's what I use it for. I put the links on my website so that way anyone can get to it. So Google Forms, we're just going to go to your Google Drive, click the little box of dots, and then click Drive. And then once you're in your Drive, on the left-hand side, you're going to see an option, select New. And if you notice you don't see Forms, you have to scroll down and hover over More. And then go to the right, and it's the little purple icon, Forms. Okay, it's fine. Go to Drive. And then click New. And then go down down more. And then Google Forms. Okay, so if you look at Google Forms, right here where I have the 411 on Google Apps, yours is going to say Untitled Form. So whatever you change the title to, that's what it's going to save it as. And the good thing about anything with Google Apps, it saves it automatically. So as you're working on this, you don't have to save it every 10, 20 minutes. You can exit out and come back, and it's exactly how you left it. So the 411 on Google Apps, and you can see that's what it saved. And then you're going to go to themes. You see where it says change theme at the very top. Google Slides. And then you're going to have a menu that shows up on the right-hand side of your screen, and you can click whatever theme you want.
Cute.
They have a lot of cute options. So to get off of, or you click change theme right there on the top. And then the right-hand side, you can scroll down and find all the themes. And then once you select your theme, to get rid of that menu on the right-hand side, you go back to click Edit Questions. So after you pick your theme, you can click Edit Questions to get out of that. And if you want to see what it looks like when the students are on this Google form, you can select View Live Form.
Oh, cool.
So as you're working and you want to see what your questions look like or what your theme or your layout looks like, you can always go back to View Live Form. Okay, so at the top of your Google form, you're going to have all these different options. So the first one, it says required Rankin County School District login to view this form. Yes. So I selected that for you all. When I put it on my website for my parents to fill out, I did not select that in case they are filling it out from work or filling it out from home on their own email rather than getting on their student's email address. It's just easier that way. Option 2 collects the student's username in the response spreadsheet. So if you notice on the form that I sent you, the first question was, what is your first and last name? So if you didn't want to do that and you didn't want their first and last name, you just wanted their email addresses, then you would select the second option, collect the student's username. That would be, so mine would be FAI 201. And then the third option shows the student's progress bar. So I didn't select that one for this form that you all filled out, but if you selected that, it would just be a little bar at the bottom, and as you're filling it out, it would fill in with green. So the closer you are to finish, the more filled in it is. And then this option 4, this limits the students from completing the form more than one time. So like student government and voting, they created it to where, you know, like Vandermeer, he couldn't go on and vote for his best friend 30 times.
Which that's what we're about to do with class favorites and who's who nominations and voting. This is what we're going to do.
It makes it to where they can't, you know, it's fair. It makes it fair. And then option 5, it shuffles the question order. So this is really helpful if you have a quiz. And, you know, that way neighbors can't look on the computer screen. It's a lot bigger than a sheet of paper. So it makes it to where they can't look at the person sitting next to them. The questions are in different order. It shuffles the answers as well so that it limits copying and cheating.
Where do you get these options from?
It's just at the very top.
I mean to tell me what the different options are.
Like the explanations of it. We're just going to send this whole slide to y'all at the end.
If you go to my webpage, it's all on there right now. If you go to,
let's see where they you can see on that little question mark and it says if enabled the question order
we are going to share it. Absolutely. Well, we're going to change it to Canvas.
I was paying attention.
It's right there.
I see that.
Yeah.
Option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it doesn't show anywhere.
Oh, there it is.
Here's an option. But it doesn't tell me. Right there it tells me what the different options are.
You don't have a little question. Do it on that.
And then it wouldn't let
So
me
if I don't, okay, why not? I don't go to the other. So it would be probably the
probably have 30 because I didn't make it to where you did it one time, which is fine. But you probably did. If you, it probably got it. Okay.
You'll then transfer it from yourself. You don't have to know.
What we're gonna do is,
Oh.
that's what we're gonna have.
Will this not pop up every time we get ready?
Because I can,
Yeah, but how do I know if I enter the option 5, how do I know?
because I can take this.
Oh, I see. Click to add up, and then
Okay, so if you noticed when you filled out the form, either before you got in here or as you got in here, there were different question options. There was a multiple choice question where you can only select one. There was a checkbox, so if you know anything about checkboxes, usually that means select all that apply. You can select more than one. So that's what, okay, text. Text was the question where I asked what is your first and last name. It's only a little box, so that's useful. It's like 1 or 2 word answer. But then paragraph, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just the text box is larger so the student can see what they're typing as they're typing, rather than just scrolling on forever to the right to see what they just typed in. Let's see.
For real quick, as she's looking at that, for coaches, like one of the things that we did with baseball is this is how we collected our roster. We sent out a Google form and we made them type in name, height, weight, number, all at position, and it automatically pulls up in a spreadsheet. So you've got all that information, and you didn't have to do any work. They filled it out, and you automatically got it. And that can work for anything. So.
Okay, another type of question type was choose from a list. And the question that we asked you with that type is what subject do you teach? So you had a little drop-down menu, you selected the subject, and then it directed you to a new page. So that's where you would do a page break. And so if you chose math, it went to a new page and asked you what math that you taught. So that could be useful if you are teaching multiple different short stories and you wanted them to select their favorite. It would take them to a new page for that certain short story and then have different questions just based on that one. And then there is a scale questioning. So that is from 1 to 5. What is Google Form? To why am I not teaching this session on Google Forms? And then you can do grid, date, and time, and that's just pretty much just formatting the form to how you want.
For when they added all their stuff, did you do a grid, or did you, each question was
No, each
different?
question was just like, I did first
You just
name,
did a text
just a
question.
text box, first name, second name, and then like
Gotcha.
for grade, I did a drop down. Junior, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and then position, I did a drop down menu. So that I made sure, because the problem you're going to run into sometimes with these, and we'll talk about it when she talks about grading stuff, sometimes they're not going to title it, or they're not going to type it in the way that you want it typed in. Because we did it for one class and we asked for phone numbers. Well, some of them just shot off 10 numbers, and others put a hyphen in there. And so we wanted it in a certain format. So, like for positions, we wanted 1B, 2B, 3B, SS. So instead of making them type that in, just did a drop-down menu. Because sometimes that'll help with the formatting and what they say.
And if you notice, you have a checkbox once you add an item to select required questions. So if any of you tried to submit the form without answering all the questions, it's not going to submit it. So we selected required form. It has a little red star by each question if you notice that when you were filling it out. Okay? So if you go to add item after you have that one question done, you can add another question. These are just the question types. But this is where you can add a picture or a video, and then you can ask more questions about whatever video or image that you insert.
And that's where you put your page break to shoot off to different types of questions, depending on answers.
So the select from a list, we did a page right there to send you to a different page, depending on what department you selected. Okay.
You're not going to mess anything up, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You're not going to mess anything up with this stuff. So if you did it and you don't want to do it, just back out. I mean, it's not...
Undo.
Just undo, and we'll talk about that kind of stuff in just a minute.
That's funny.
Okay, so whenever you create a Google form, it automatically creates sheets. It creates a sheet with all the responses. So if I go to my Google form that I created, if responses in this Google Sheet. And then if you notice, we made it, I don't know if this is, yeah. We created it to where it made it a certain color depending on your answer. So if you were a 1 or a 2 with how comfortable you were, it automatically shaded in red. 3 automatically shaded it in yellow, and then 4 or 5 it was green. So the way you do that is you select the column format and you go to conditional formatting. So if you see it's saying from rows, from columns E to H, if they put a 1 or a 3, here, I'm removing them.
Undo.
Control Z that thing.
Well, the problem is the
It's
calibration
not
also.
calibrated.
Hold on.
She did it.
Okay, I don't want to click anything. I'm going to undo it again. So, this is useful if you want to just kind of check it real fast and grade whatever they're sending in. You can make it to where if it has a certain word in their answer at all, it changes it a certain color, so that way you either know they have the correct answer in their response somewhere. I used this a lot last year in my student teaching for opening and closers, just to use for like pre-assessing a lesson. And I can, look at these colors and say, okay, I'm going to put someone that's a red with a green, and maybe do some student peer tutoring. Or put all the reds together and the greens together, so that way I know that I need to help the reds more than I need to help the greens. So this is good when you're wanting to group students. Also, another way you can look at these is if you go to, where's my, if you go to responses and summary responses, it's just a more visual graphs and pie charts. You can see it as one whole thing.
You can see that our staff is young professionally, and that more of y'all feel comfortable with Google Calendars and more real bad with forms and sheets. We just kind of can look to see the different information there.
Okay, so if you go to add-ons, there's an add-on called Roll Call. And this is really useful. I mentioned that I put a parent form on my website. So instead of, and one of the questions on my form was, what period do I teach your child? So instead of having to go through,
Okay, time out.
Real quick, you have to be on the sheets. You can't get the roll call add-on from forms. You have to be on sheets. So go to sheets.
and then you go to get add-ons.
And then, yeah, they're not going to automatically be there.
Yeah.
Add-ons
Yes, you
is
have
something
to-
that you download.
You have to add them on.
And you just type it in.
And it's roll call, ROWCALL, not roll call, not ROLL. Not what Key One does at the pep rally.
And it's free, so you would do free and download it. And I use this all the time, so if you want to take a moment, if you think you're going to use sheets, or if you'll ever use forms where you would get them to select their period, it's really nice. So instead of like sorting your form,
Roll Call, ROWCALL. So I had my parents fill out a student information form, and they had to select which class their student was in. So if I needed to email a certain class, those students as parents going start. Okay, I can select which column I want to use. Okay.
I'm done.
Make sure you're ready.
Okay, and I didn't do a class period for y'all. Right, so I'm going to select which subject do you teach. Okay, it is already highlighted. And then I would automatically update sheet. So if that way someone goes in and submits the form later, it update. So I'm going to click it's just not calibrated. There we
You gotta go to the left about 2.5 inches.
So, as you can see, created it into individual sheets. So if you wanted to delete this sheet,
Down arrow.
and then delete. But it keeps all of the information in the original sheet. It doesn't delete the original one.
You're not going to have the color-coded formatting in those new sheets that you create unless you go in and set up that conditional formatting in each sheet. So your main sheet will give you the red, blue, green, pink, purple, whatever color you put in. And the add-ons will not have that unless you go and change that setting in conditional formatting.
Also, one thing that's nice that we actually forgot to tell. So you'll see Vanderberry selected numerous things that he was not good at or didn't feel comfortable with. And you can actually see the rest of his responses. So you can go in and tell it to format and do text wrapping and tell it to wrap. And it will format your cells for each person so you can see the entire response.
Rather than pulling it out to the...
But this is just like Excel.
It's
Right,
exactly
it's just like it.
slides, PowerPoint, doc,
And the same
sheets.
here.
It's all the exact
Exactly
same thing.
This just saves it automatically like these rather than Word and Excel.
You can also click on that text wrap. It's Option Control Enter. If you hit Option Control Enter, it'll go to a second space. If you just hit Enter, it's going to drop down to the next box. So you can turn on text wrapping for your document, and if you're typing in it, it'll automatically text wrap for you.
Okay, here's another. Someone have a question? No? Okay. Here's another add-on that may be interesting to you. There's an add-on called Flubaroo. Flubaroo.
Flubaroo.
Yes. What this does is if you ever used a Google form for a pre-assessment or a quiz, this will allow you to grade it. So it sets up a grading and gives you the grade. So the way you do that, obviously you would have to get the add-on.
It's asking for a lot of permission. Like, what does this mean, send email as you?
So they're going to send, if you send an email, it's going to send it as @rcsd.ms.
Oh, okay, so it's not just gonna send an email, it's not gonna do like a Siri and like take over things.
Right.
No.
Okay.
You're talking about Flubaroo's asking
Yeah.
for?
Excuse me.
Yeah. So Flubaroo, not only will it grade it for you, it will allow you to send the grades to the student. So it's asking for permission for your email and their email, that kind of thing. Okay. So you would tell it you want to grade the assignment, and it takes it a second. And so the first thing, like, what is your first and last name? That's just identifying the student. So it's identifying. We don't want it to give it any points. Okay. Then normal grading worth a point. And you can change it. Skip this one. Don't grade it. Or this one, I want to grade by hand. It's a discussion question, so that part of it, I can't. The computer can't grade. So you do all this. I'm just going to leave everything as one and tell it to continue. And then what has to happen, the way that it grades, is you will actually need to go into the form and fill it out yourself.
When you send a form, you have an option to send me a copy, so you can fill it out then.
And then you select, like right now, we didn't fill one out, but let's just say this was Miss Wallace's thing, and she had filled it out. Then she would select her name and say that that's the key. So whatever she inputted is the answer.
The only thing with that is you have to be very careful. You have to tell your students how you want their answers formatted, because if you put an answer with a capital letter, if they don't capitalize that letter, it's wrong.
But if it's multiple choice or select all that apply, then you definitely can use this. You would tell it to continue, and then it's going to do your grades.
And it highlights it in red if they made a certain percentage or below.
Well, you can change the percentage. So right now, I think
so everyone didn't do, we just based it off of someone else's answer.
70% is your preset. So if it's below 70%, it's going to show up in red. You can change that to be 60, 90, 80, whatever you want it to be.
So
and we have it set for 70. And of course, this is obviously all based off of Juniper's answers. So
And we are not like her, thank you.
Right.
Whoa, praise be.
Okay. It can be the only one.
Alright. Now it's acting crazy. Okay. You can also, on your add-ons for Flubaroo, you can say email grades. And your email address question, like, was your username? You can include the list of the questions and the scores. You can include the answer key. So if it's after everyone's done it, they can go back and, like if it's a formative assessment, you want them to review it before the test, all of that. You can include a message, continue, and it just sends it all out. So, there's that. Now, the other, y'all didn't ask this, but the others are like, well, what's the point of using this over Canvas? Okay, there's really not a benefit one over the other. Some schools don't have like a Canvas or Blackboard or something like that, but they have Gmail accounts for everyone, so this is their only option. So this is just nice to know how to do for that.
The other thing is for parents, Canvas can be a little bit intimidating. For teachers, it's intimidating. For all, I get lost on Canvas sometimes myself. And just trying to find where I'm going to click, what module I'm going to click, what assignment I'm going to click, what I'm going to do. Whereas with Google Forms, you're going to send it out, you got a link, you click on the link, you answer the questions, and it's done. You share it with somebody, you embed it on your website, you do whatever, it's there, it's done. And you get the responses automatically. You don't. That's just me personally. And again, some parents may feel more comfortable. Just, they pull up an email, they click on the link, they type in it, and it's done. Versus having to log into Canvas, figure out where they got to go in Canvas, which module they got to click on, which assignment, etc. This can just be a little bit cleaner at times. And again, it's just personal preference. Some people are well versed in Canvas, and that's easy to do. It's not one way or the other.
Any other questions about forms? Okay, we're going to spend the last, we got about 20-ish minutes, but Blaze is going to show you how to embed Google, any kind of Google app that you use, so whether it be Doc or forms or slides or spreadsheets into Canvas, into your website. And what's the benefit of that is if, opposed to, I'm going to let him show you, but opposed to, I've always used a document. And so every time I've updated the document, I've had to reload that onto my web page. Do a new link and reload that. When you embed it as a Google document, anytime I change that document, it's automatically changing on Canvas, on my website. As I change it in the document or in the presentation, it's automatically changing wherever I've embedded it.
For example, if you want to put your syllabus on your web page, and let's say you get off track, well, you can go into Google Drive, change your syllabus, and it's automatically going to update on your web page. You're not going to have to do it in 2, 3, 4 places. Wherever you put this iframe code, which we're going to show you, wherever you put this iframe code, it's going to automatically update it. So you can do it with your calendar, with anything in Google, you're able to do that and embed it, and whatever is automatically going to happen. So what I want to do is, let's start off with, we'll start off with this sheet. If you have a sheet pulled up, you can do it here. We click on File, and then at the bottom of File down here it says Publish to the web. And again, this is going to be the same format you're going to take whether you're in docs, slides, sheets, forms. Whatever format you're in, it's the same steps. From this here, you've got Embed. So if I click on Embed, I want to embed the entire document, or I can, what I want to embed. It's the same thing if you're on it's not automatically on the web. So don't freak. They publish and it's like, oh, I just published everything. Okay? it gives me, when I click publish, it gives me an iframe code. These little brackets and then everything inside of it. That's our iframe code. You don't have to know anything about coding. That's above my head, but all I know is I've got to copy this and paste it somewhere. Real quick, couple key commands that are beneficial for everybody to know. Command A is going to highlight everything. Which that's not necessarily what you want to do there, but then that was already highlighted for me. So if I click Command C, so if I hold down Command C, that's going to copy whatever is highlighted. So right here, I'm going to go Command C. That's going to highlight, that's going to copy whatever is highlighted. Whenever I get to where I'm going, if I want to paste it, I'm going to click Command V. It is not Command P. Command P is print. Command V is paste. So Command V is going to put down whatever I Command C, Command V is going to put it down.
Can we command no?
Command.
I'm just wondering. Command no.
Command Z is the last one, and Command Z.
That's your best friend.
Command Z is your best friend. You can't mess. If you do something and you're like, dang, I didn't want to do that, Command Z. Miss Draper has a button on that says Command Z that thing. Alright? If you're on Word, it's Control. I mean, if you're on
PC, it's
Control. It's Control Z. On an Apple device, it's Command Z. Command Z is just going to back you out. It's the same thing as the undo key. It just, sometimes the undo key will only give you like 4 or 5 steps. Where that Command Z key just keeps going. So she's on my webpage now. I created a new development. You can do this so created another web page or create another page, professional development. Right here you have 2 brackets. That's your source code. Now, if you're on the About Teacher page and you're down at the bottom it'll say HTML. I get your way? It'll say HTML. So if you click on HTML, that's the same thing as your source code. That's where you're going to paste your code that you just copied. So I put in here this presentation, our slides presentation, the 411, and you can see that the width is 569. I didn't put a border on it or anything. I'll show you how to go back and change this docs. Okay, so delete that for me and then. Alright, so once you delete it, you can enter down a couple of times and then. And so once you're done with that, click OK. Is there, and then our student submission form is there. Now, I like the slideshow presentation because it started off with 1 slide. I put it on there as soon as we created the slide. And as we updated it, automatically updated. So whatever I did showed up on there. Whatever Faith or Amanda did automatically showed up on there. New document. I didn't have to do anything. So activate on my page. Back out of that. Yes. All right. Can you exit out of it? Click save. So it's.
So you can just go back to source code and take the last thing that you put on off, and it will just make it disappear.
Yes. Okay. And so now go to view website if you don't mind. Okay, so I go professional development, and then our slideshow presentation will go full screen. So whoever's viewing it, click on that for me if you don't mind.
It's not doing anything.
Oh, that's because we're on the preview page. You can click on full screen, you can go to different slides, you can change, you can pause the slideshow, you can advance it to a certain slide, you can do all of those things once you embed it. What's the benefit? You have classroom notes that you're doing every day. Well, if you embedded a notes section in if you want to, if you embed it, let's say I've done all of this stuff, well, I can copy it and drop it into that same notes page on Google Drive, and it's automatically going to put on there. So let's say you don't necessarily want to save the day before, or you want to add it to the bottom of it. If you do that, it's automatically going to update on your web page. Now, if you want to have 4 or 5 different sections of it, then you may need to go in and add. What I would recommend is in Google Drive you have, let's say you have 10 sections of notes that you're working through. Well, have a blank section that's iframed onto your web page. Does that make sense? Okay, so you're going to create notes for 10.5, and then you're going to create notes for 10.6, 10.7, 10.8. So those are going to be separate documents in your Google Drive. Then you're going to have a blank document that's embedded on your web page. Okay, does that make sense? So I've got a blank document. Well, after you do your notes for 10.5, just copy and paste in that blank document, and it's automatically going to show up on your web page.
Why can't we just upload that particular?
Because then you're going to have to create a new embed code for each one. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if I've got this one document that's embedded into my web page and I just copy and drop it into there, it's automatically going to update on rather than creating a new embed the first day. Does that kind of make sense? If you have one that's embedded, you can just copy and paste into that one that's embedded every time. And save.
It's a little different if you want to embed on Canvas. So let me show you real quick on Canvas.
Please. That'd be great.
If I wanted to embed it like on an assignment, or I can create my assignment.
That's right. You have to put it in there. So there's your HTML.
You have to go to the HTML and put it there. So
Yes,
right here, you
HTML
do
editor.
HTML editor, you paste it in there, and then you can go back, and it doesn't look like anything's there. So if I click on save, takes a second.
Iframes, whenever you preview iframes, most of the time they're not.
Oh, the name's required, that's
No, you do not have to put it.
once it's once it's there, notice that that Google Drive thing was there, and I can edit it from there once I've saved it.
Well, will it update into that?
Yes.
As you
If
think
you
there's
Yes.
edit it and you use that link as an embed, then it updates AU.
As long as you're putting an iframe code in there, it's going to update it.
Now, can you go to modules and from, so you don't have any modules set up, but if you,
I can go
If
to
you wanna
a-
log
I can
in,
go
you
to
can
a
log
class
in.
that has modules. I just went to a class that was not published.
so could you do the same thing? It showed us in the first thing how that we can actually add a link to a YouTube video, we could do that. Could we do the same thing with this? Could we embed that there?
You technically don't have to add the link to the YouTube video. You can embed the YouTube video too if you want to. So when you go to YouTube and it's got share, it has an embed option. No, I was just talking about YouTube. You keep doing what you're doing.
No, I was.
So here, would it be external URL? Or should we just do the embed?
I don't know that. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, I would have to play with this to see.
I mean, YouTube you can get. I was talking about like what we just did, where she put the iframe in there. You can do the same thing with a YouTube video. I don't know about modules. It doesn't look like it looks like modules. You're gonna have to. There's a YouTube link under external tool, but it doesn't look like you're able to. Can you click on text real quick and see what that does? In that ad. Well, that's a text header.
It's a text header.
I didn't know if there was a place where it had an
I still think you have to do like.
And then the HTML code is not the same thing as a URL. Like that's not okay.
The URL is the actual address that you pull out of that bar up top.
I would probably do a content page, like just do a new one and then embed it into that content page is what I would do, because there's not an embed here.
Can you embed it real quick and see what happens right there?
On the content page or in the URL?
On the content page.
So you have to do new page and you have to name it, so this is actually a spreadsheet. So what happens is it gets added over here in the spreadsheet, maybe. And you have to click on it and actually go to that sheet and add it onto that sheet. So I would edit it.
And there's your
Okay,
HTML.
so the HTML, go back, save, and it's there.
So yes, you can.
And my students can't see this because it's not published, so that's, I can play.
But your forms, slides, docs, those are gonna show up a little cleaner than necessarily a spreadsheet would.
If you have questions or you go to start embedding and you forget, please email us. We don't mind answering questions, coming to see you if we need to. Promise.
Any questions on the embedding? There's how to use Canvas, by the way.
Yeah.
So we figured it out.
Here's the thing, you're not, like, I know some of us get scared of, oh my goodness, I'm gonna mess something up. Like, we just click until we get it to do, like, usually if something's gonna go wrong and it's gonna destroy your computer, you're gonna get a message. Are you sure you want to proceed? And if you're not getting that, then what you're doing is not hurting anything. I know some of you are like, I don't want to do that. I might delete something, or I might destroy something, or my computer might explode. Like, if you're doing something majorly wrong, you're going to get a warning message. So, click away.
The biggest thing I would recommend is if you have questions, just Google it. I didn't know how to do this stuff. I didn't get training on this stuff. I just played with it until I didn't mess it up anymore. Just do it, because somebody out there probably had the same question you had, or put a YouTube video up on it. So check it out, because their answers are there, and we'll be glad to answer them too. I'm not saying that.
Mr. King, are we going to be required to have our courses on campus?
Both ways. I've heard yes and I've heard no. So to give you a definitive answer, I cannot.
Eventually, yes.
It's on cusp.
Eventually, yes.
Do you know this?
I feel certain.
Okay.
The thing is, the school district is paid for campus. So they've got, now, there is a Google app called Google Classroom. That's like don't talk about that thing. Alright? Because we've paid for Canvas. We've also paid for our email address, our email accounts are not free. We've had to pay for those too. But Canvas, Google Classroom, they all work similar. But if you're more comfortable, you can embed a form on Canvas and answer your questions. Have questions answered from forms and get a response code put back to you.
It's lunchtime. Y'all have till 12:45. The next session's supposed to start at 12:45. So go and do whatever you need for your hour and a half. If you have questions or you forget later, please contact us. We don't mind helping.
Right, thanks for being involved with that.
By the way, coaches, if y'all want to, getting creative.
Is that a woman hanging around? Is that your brown bag?
This? No.
Yep.
Okay. Stats are just constantly updated.
I'll just make sure you want your brown bag. It's Christmas.
I told Matt.
Okay.
Here, no, they don't
I see it when
Hey, Woody. He's like, oh, hey, Woody. Whatever you like.
If you can't snap it, get down here yet.
Since you're blocking it now. Brown bag.
Yep.